but in his signature defiant way, he wrote in a text message to supporters, "I will never surrender." And on Truth Social, he called for his supporters to stand united and not to allow, quote, evil to win. But he really seems to be towing the line between his typical bombast and adopting a tone which is a little more conciliatory at a moment when Americans of all political stripes are extremely uneasy and many are just frankly terrified.
And what have been the other reactions to this assassination attempt? What's been happening in Washington? What have the people been saying?
Democrats and administration officials have called for unity, essentially saying that this was not just an attack on Trump, but an attack on democracy.
Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick.
President Biden made it very clear in a couple of appearances over the weekend that he condemned the violence.
We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this.
And said that this kind of reaction, regardless of your political stance, was completely unacceptable. Republicans had a wider range of reactions. There were some in the party who took a measured approach.
Everyone needs to turn the rhetoric down.
Like from Speaker of the House Mike Johnson.
You have political opposition and political opponents, but we're all Americans, and we have to treat one another with dignity and respect.
But you also heard some Republicans taking a far different approach. You had people like Mike Collins, a kind of a firebrand Republican from Georgia, writing on social media that Joe Biden sent the orders to shoot Donald Trump.
Wow.
Obviously, there's no evidence for that.
I do believe that Joe Biden is responsible for the shooting today.
And you had Lauren Boebert from Colorado in a television interview saying Joe Biden is responsible for the shooting.
Everyone who has called him a fascist, everyone who has called him a threat to democracy, who said that he should be...
Essentially saying that it was Democratic rhetoric that caused this. Again, there's been no evidence whatsoever yet that the shooter was motivated by that kind of rhetoric. But that was a common Republican talking point that you saw emerging, to say that using all of this description of Trump as an existential threat to democracy had somehow whipped up people to enact violent acts.
Okay, so there are some cross currents of rhetoric here in the aftermath of the shooting, and we see some signs of unity, but it seems undeniable that this is a very fraught political moment. How much have you been hearing in your reporting about the possibility of further violence?
It's a huge fear, and it's building upon concerns that FBI and Justice Department officials have talked to us about for months and months and months. They are worried about violence springing up in this election. On a call on Sunday, they reiterated that the threat level is really high. For months they've been telling us that they're worried about shootings spawning in copycats. And also, outside of violence, it's this wave of misinformation that tends to accompany these big events that can also create a bad cycle. People get whipped up, and that in turn incites more violence. So I think there is a level of tremendous uncertainty, and political conventions, as we have seen in years past, are a gathering point for all kinds of folks, mostly people who are engaged in peaceful protest, but it's also been catalytic for individuals who want to create all kinds of problems. I think if there is a silver lining, it is that this near miss, this near national catastrophe has alerted law enforcement agencies, particularly the Secret Service, to up their vigilance to the highest possible level. So to a certain extent, like a near miss of an airliner potentially crashing, it might have the positive impact of having people pay more attention at a time of what appears to be maximum danger.
Glenn, what happens now? I mean, you mentioned political conventions. The Republican National Convention is starting on Monday. Do we have any idea of how that event will play out, given what just happened? How this changes things?
Well, first and foremost, I think you're going to see a level of security at both conventions that's unprecedented. In terms of the political impact, that's a little harder to predict. This presents Donald Trump with an enormous opportunity to reset his image, but it's an entirely unpredictable political environment, and the situation will change. I think its greatest meaning, its most resonant meaning, is that our politics is changing and moving into a darker and more dangerous place. And the question is, are we entering an age where political violence becomes commonplace, or is this a moment where we realize collectively that this is not the future we can accept?
And what happens in the next few days is going to be quite important to help give an answer to that.
Indeed.
Glenn, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
For more than 80 years, the Ford Foundation has supported the institutions, individuals, and ideas at the forefront of social justice. Join them for Ideas at Ford, a new series hosted by New York Times columnist Charles Brown, featuring conversations with leaders from all walks of life, exploring the most complex social justice issues of our time, as they share unique perspectives on innovative solutions we need today. Tune into Ideas at Ford for ideas that can enlighten, inspire, and transform the world. Visit fordfoundation.org/The Daily to learn more.
Here's what else you should know today. On Saturday, Israel conducted a major airstrike in the southern Gaza Strip that it said targeted Hamas's top military commander, who was allegedly one of the architects of the October 2nd attack on Israel. Gazan health authorities said that at least 90 people died in the assault, but by Sunday night, it was not clear whether the commander targeted in the strike, Mohammed Daif, was among them. Today's episode was produced by Rob Zinko, Shannon Lynn, Lindsay Garrison, and Stella Taylor, with help from Carlos Riera. It was edited by Patricia Williams, with help from Paige Currett. Fact-checked by Susan Reed. Contains original music by Mariam Mazama, Diane Garlick, Sophia Lambert, and Pat McCusker, and was engineered by Alyssa Moxley. Our theme music is by Jim Grunberg and Ben Landsberg of Wonderly. Special thanks to Beth and Jessica Metzger. That's it for the Daily. I'm Serena Tyrese. See you tomorrow.
For more than 80 years, the Ford Foundation has supported the institutions, individuals, and ideas at the forefront of social justice. Join them for Ideas at Ford, a new series hosted by New York Times columnist Charles Brown, featuring conversations with leaders from all walks of life, exploring the most complex social justice issues of our time, as they share unique perspectives on innovative solutions we need today. Tune into Ideas at Ford for ideas that can enlighten, inspire, and transform the world. Visit fordfoundation.org/The Daily to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by
this is where this ends.
Agreed.
Who cares?
I
But
agree.
we, as
We've
two
reached
guys
the
who like the
pinnacle.
game, this is enticing.
Gareth, we won podcasts. Everybody else can fucking turn
Well,
off
why
their
don't you
microphones.
why don't you kind of recap a
Okay.
little bit, and people can't tear up microphones. Is that what you suggest that they do?
Unplug them.
Okay, I heard tear it up.
Kevin, did I say tear them up or unplug them?
I was looking at myself.
Kevin looks good, but that's not what we're here to talk
The
about.
fucking hunk with no chunk.
I know. I don't know what. Yeah.
The hunk, he passed,
bad.
he passed the chunk to you and me, Gareth.
By the way, ever since he's become the hunk with no chunk, he's been a bit of a punk. He's the punky hunk. He's looking at himself. Okay, so
chance. It was a little jarring. Maybe I'll do it again for like a Patreon game.
Maybe we do it on the 25th.
No.
Maybe we get the shirt off you and we just kind of shave whatever parts you eat. Why should we come on.
Nobody was. We were hearing the
Okay,
pitch.
we get to pick. We get to pick.
So here's the news, Gareth and Hunt. As you know, on this show, we've talked about Barbara and Robert from Shark Tank. We have said that I'm Barbara and Gareth is Robert. We love the show. We love them. We connect them. Well, Barbara reached out to our social media with 2 eyeballs.
It's just an initiation.
It is. Well, I was a little nervous because it could be an initiation or it could be
Yeah.
they're talking about me.
Yeah,
Cool.
talk a little shark shit.
You're talking a little shit. I'm Barbara Corcoran.
But you, being the great liaison that you are, you hit her up right away.
I got excited.
As we both did.
And I said that we are
We both
legit
got very
fans.
excited.
We would love you on for an intro or a callers, whatever. And she wrote back, I'm in. So ladies and gentlemen, not right now, but soon.
We're hoping.
We're hoping.
And you know, maybe part of the plan is we start tagging her, and you know, I don't know. At some point though, we'll have her in or we'll have her on or some version of which the big.
Okay, also, Robert, where you at?
Yeah, Robert, what's your deal? Make me look bad. You're making us look bad, amigo.
Making us look bad because we need Barbara, of course.
Yeah.
Robert, what you doing?
Come on.
We got a great show, the 25th, our 100th is coming up. We got This Is Just Us, Just Solos.
It's a big, yeah, let's enjoy it. And you join us on the 25th. We're doing it on our Patreon, 100th episode.
Yes.
Like we said, we're picking some parts of Kevin out of an envelope and we're
Here's
shaving.
what's going to happen on the 25th. By the way, if you're not on the Patreon, everyone's going to hear it anyhow because we're going to release all the calls, obviously.
God damn, get out of the way.
We're going to take Kevin and
Yeah.
Alright, and Jake's gonna put it up.
I'm going to wrestle.
Fucking lost.
Jesus, this stuff.
Without
Further ado.
Wait, no, Gareth, that's for your
I don't even know. I was gonna shout out Barbara again. Come join us. Without further ado.
Anyway, we should go here. I've got a few photos throughout this episode. If you'd like to see them, I have the link in the episode description for exactly in the video when we check out those photos. So just go to the episode description, click on the links, and it'll take you right there. Alright, enjoy.
Hello.
Well, that is a chipper attitude. And here on We're Here to Help, we like a chipper attitude. Welcome, you're on with Jake Johnson, Gareth Reynolds. Can we get your name, age, where you're calling from, please?
My name is Abby. I'm from Tennessee, and I'm 27.
Wow. What's life like in Chattanooga? You going out to bars, you having fun?
You know, life in Chattanooga is the best life you can have. It is so much fun.
Have you lived anywhere else?
I have. So I actually lived up in Cookville, Tennessee for a while back when I was in college.
I would say
So-
Chattanooga's way better than Cookville.
Yeah, here's what I like about you. Chattanooga's the best because Cookville wasn't as good. I love it.
Right. Well, you know, there was also time in Florida when I was working at Disney. That was pretty fun, but Chattanooga's probably better.
Okay, here's what I'll say, Abby. If you say it's the best, then I believe you because it's the best for you.
Yeah.
What can we help you with today?
Okay, so I indeed really bad. My best friend has decided that she wants a Spider-Man-themed bachelorette party, and I have no idea what kind of activities to plan.
She loves Spider-Man, huh?
She loves Spider-Man ever since she was little. We've been best friends for 18 years, and that's just her thing.
That's a really unique group of ladies in Tennessee. Were you guys, when you guys were at Cooksville, were you in sororities? Because my judgment when I think of Tennessee colleges is it's a bunch of gals in those like cute dresses where you're all doing the weird squat, and then you go like, Delta, 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 Delta. And then you make like an Instagram video where you're like, everybody come into our mansion.
Yeah.
And then it like goes, and there's like a girl who does a backflip, and then there's a pool,
Yeah.
and then they go like, oh my God, we want you with us so bad. And then everybody like dives backwards, and you're all gymnasts. Am I near a judgment, or am I out of line?
You know, when you think of Tennessee schools, you're not off, but that's not the kind of gals we are.
Okay, so that's what I needed to know. What's your group? If you had to do, my judgment was that You judge your group and paint a picture.
That's happening, but next door, they're all watching Spider-Man.
That's
Yeah,
what
right.
I'm like, I was
Keep
like,
it down over there.
I was like, I know that judgment, but it's 3 dudes in sweatpants being like, no, the 1984 version was better,
Let
Jerry.
me tell you why the web would work in humidity. For the
The main character of the current news cycle is, once again, Donald Trump. Having remade his political party and his image, Trump will soon accept the formal presidential nomination of the GOP at the Republican National Convention.
This convention will come to order.
Within hours of the opening gavel, we learned who his running mate will be.
It is therefore my honor to nominate Ohio Senator J.D. Vance for the office of Vice President of the United States of America.
And Trump himself is receiving a hearty welcome from attendees and speakers in Milwaukee as he recovers from an assassination attempt at a campaign rally on Saturday.
Good evening. We are coming on the air with breaking news. There has been an incident at Donald Trump's campaign.
Sorry, excuse me. I do have to cut you off for a moment here because here on your screen we do have some more breaking news from the Associated Press saying law enforcement...
Tonight, an ABC News special report, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump.
And while one branch of the Justice Department continues the investigation into the motive of the man who fired those shots, on Monday morning, a federal judge made another stunning announcement. Judge Eileen Cannon, the Trump appointee, dismissed the entire federal case against former President Trump involving classified documents. We're talking about the charges around how Trump took top-secret materials to Mar-a-Lago and then allegedly hid those materials from federal investigators. Consider this. Donald Trump already had a lot to be thankful for this week, and now he has just learned he might avoid prosecution in at least one federal criminal case against him. From NPR, I'm Elsa Chang.
The Republican National Convention is happening this week, and the NPR Politics Podcast takes you there. We're on the ground in Milwaukee with analysis, recaps, and coverage of what happens every night of the RNC. Listen to the NPR Politics Podcast. New from the Embedded Podcast. What happens when 3 Republican women challenge their own party?
Maybe we need to speak out a little bit bolder. Maybe we need to do something to get people's attention.
They have a front row seat to democracy. Now, you do too. Listen to Supermajority from NPR's Embedded and WPLN.
If you think the economy makes no sense right now...
You are probably right, because even economists can't explain it.
But our podcast, The Indicator from Planet Money...
We're a little dose of clarity on the biggest economic questions of the day.
And about the forces that affect your life.
In 10 minutes or less, every weekday, The Indicator from Planet Money from NPR.
It's Consider This from NPR. As attendees of the Republican National Convention were having breakfast in Milwaukee, they learned that Judge Eileen Cannon had dismissed all charges against former President Trump over his handling of classified documents. The timing hands Trump a surprise legal victory on the first day of the RNC. NPR Justice correspondent Carrie Johnson has the details and joins us now. Hey, Carrie.
Hey there.
Hey. Okay, so this was a bit of a surprise this morning to see the whole Mar-a-Lago case against Trump thrown out. What reasons did the judge give?
Judge Cannon says the special counsel in this case was appointed unconstitutionally and that he lacked the power to bring this prosecution. The Attorney General appointed Jack Smith back in 2022, but Judge Cannon says only Congress
or the president should have that authority. Judge Cannon mentioned a recent writing by conservative Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas in a separate case against Trump. There, Justice Thomas basically invited Trump and the lower courts to take up this issue of the power of the special counsel, which kind of paved the way for this opinion today.
Just so I understand, this means all the charges against Trump over his alleged hoarding of classified documents, all of the charges just go away?
The practical effect of the judge's ruling is to throw out the whole case, not just against Donald Trump, but also his co-defendants, his aides at the Mar-a-Lago resort. The Justice Department has the power to appeal, and there's good reason to think it will. Judge Cannon has been reversed by a conservative appeals court in this case in the past, and many other federal courts that have considered this issue under the Appointments Clause of the Constitution have all sided with the Justice Department. Law professors are pointing out there's a long historical precedent where attorneys general name what they call inferior officers, such as the special counsel.
Well, I imagine Trump and his team are beyond elated right now. What are they saying so far?
Yeah, Donald Trump cheered the move and called for the dismissal of the other 3 criminal cases against him. I reached out this afternoon to Jesse Panuccio. He's a former Justice Department official in the Trump administration. Panuccio says the judge wrote a serious opinion and she was right to question the special counsel's authority.
Mr. Smith is a private citizen who has not been vetted by the United States Senate, not been appointed by the president, exercising the full power of the United States Attorney, which is vast, which is the power to prosecute and imprison people, in this case, a former president.
What do you think, going down the road, are the implications if other courts follow this reasoning from Judge Cannon?
There are big implications. It could mean that both federal cases against Donald Trump, the Florida case and the one in Washington over January 6th, are over. But it also has implications for the way the Justice Department has investigated sensitive allegations against political figures since the Nixon era. Lawyer Matthew Seligman told me what's at stake is every prosecution brought by a special counsel.
The Department of Justice as an institution has an overwhelming interest in defending the constitutionality and lawfulness of special counsels in general. Not just because of the January 6th case, because there have been dozens of these special counsels and special prosecutors over the last decades.
Think about Archibald Cox, who investigated Nixon, Robert Hur, who investigated Joe Biden.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, Carrie, the Florida prosecution of Trump has been considered like the strongest of 4 cases against the former president. Was that thinking just, I don't know, like off the mark?
The bulk of the case in Florida relates to behavior by Donald Trump after he left the White House, allegedly taking secret documents to his former resort, storing them in bathrooms and ballrooms, and then refusing to hand over those papers when the Justice Department asked him, even after the FBI searched the property. Told me that was as close to an open and shut case as the DOJ might ever get, but now at best there's going to be a lot more delay. Break into the White House. He could direct his Attorney General to drop any appeal and bury this case for good.
That was NPR's Carrie Johnson. This episode was produced by Brianna Scott and Kai McNamee. It was edited by Patrick Jaron Watanabe. Our executive producer is Sammy Yannigan. It's Consider This from NPR. I'm Elsa Chang.
New from the Embedded podcast. Female athletes have always needed grit and talent. But for decades, they've also needed a certificate.
There was chit-chat about, is that really a woman?
And even now, they're still being checked and questioned. Their story is the newest series from CBC and NPR's Embedded. It's called Tested. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
On this week's episode of Wildcard, poet Nikki Giovanni says you can choose your family.
I recommend dogs. But they're faithful, they're intelligent, and they always love you.
I'm Rachel Martin. Join us for NPR's Wildcard podcast, the game where cards control the conversation.
in Pennsylvania on Saturday, a bullet came just inches from taking former President Donald Trump's life. Trump appeared to be hit in the right ear. He was immediately pulled off the stage by the Secret Service. A bystander was killed, and 2 people were critically injured. In a statement afterward, Trump wrote on social media, quote, "It was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening. We will fear not, but instead remain resilient in our faith and defiant in the face of wickedness." And in an address from the Oval Office, President Joe Biden called for a de-escalation of political discourse.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence, for any violence ever. Period. No exceptions. We can't allow this violence to be normalized.
The political world now stands on edge as the Republican National Convention starts today in Milwaukee. And now, investigators are digging into who tried to kill Trump and how the shooter was able to get so close. Welcome to The Journal, our show about money, business, and power. I'm Ryan Knutson. It's Monday, July 15th. Coming up on the show, what we know about the shooter and the failures of the Secret Service.
This episode is brought to you by ServiceNow. Here's the truth about AI. AI is only as powerful as the platform it's built into. ServiceNow puts AI to work for people across your business, removing friction and frustration for your employees, supercharging productivity for your developers, providing intelligent tools for your service agents to make customers happier. All built into a single platform you can use right now. That's why the world works with ServiceNow. Visit servicenow.com/AI for people.
The man who authorities say shot at Donald Trump on Saturday was killed at the scene by the Secret Service. He was later identified as Thomas Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. Our colleague Sadie Gurman covers the Justice Department, and she and others in the newsroom have been trying to learn as much as possible about Crooks.
I've covered law enforcement for 18 years or something, and so I started calling. We all just started calling our sources, but I just started hitting the phones of anybody in law enforcement that I could possibly think of to figure out what happened. And I'm texting and calling FBI sources, sources in local law enforcement, because I used to work in Western Pennsylvania, and so I still know a lot of these people. But it became quickly clear that the former president had been shot and that the shooter had been killed by a Secret Service sniper. These were the first details that we learned. And the fact that a sniper, fired the fatal shot that killed him suggested to me that the gunman might have been firing from an elevated